Hello again everyone and welcome back to the channel. This time we are watching Zuber 56, who is playing on an assault game on the Ehrenberg map. They're going to show us how to play the assault game mode, as well as make those decisions that are especially catered for this game mode towards the end of the battle. So, the initial position that Zuber, as well as a fair few other allied tanks, are going to go for is just straight down the middle. This is most likely where the big fight is going to happen, because you can tell from the spawn points on either end of the map, and there doesn't look to be too many quick tanks on either team. I do like this little tidbit here from Zuber. They are pushing along this 88 just to speed it up a little bit more. Doesn't happen very often, I found, in the game. On the console edition it used to happen a lot more, but it seems to have fallen out of fashion. But it's nice to see that at least some people are doing it on the PC edition. So Zuber is going to move up and take the initial position that they're going to use for the first, I suppose, act of the battle. They want to defend, but also get really aggressive and try and take a position that they want to take right at the start of the battle. Again, a bit unlucky there, dealing with the Jackson's frontal armour, but it can't be helped. They do get some tracking damage to compensate them, and they also do pick up the kill. Now, they're heading to a quite populated part of the map. All of the enemy heavies are likely to be here. A fair few of the mediums are looking to get a piece of what's going on. So what I would like to have seen here from Zuber, and I think they're about to do it now, or at least attempt to, there we go, is side scraping. When Zuber initially went around, they were exposing their lower plate, and German heavies, well, all heavies really, for balancing reasons, have very weak lower plates that part just below the upper glacis of the tank, which is particularly strong conversely. The point of side scraping is to allow your turret and your gun to get around the side without exposing that lower part of your tank. Unfortunately, I think that Zuber over-angled there, and the Churchill 7 was able to sneak one through his drive wheel, but that doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. There you go, you see the tracks there just absorbing the damage from the Churchill 7 now, and as well as the KV-1S. I appreciate most of you have probably already heard of side scraping, but I thought it would be prudent to sort of mention it, give it a mention, and also, arguably more importantly, when to use it. You can theoretically side scrape with any tank in the game successfully, because you can just use the tracks to absorb the damage and keep a tight enough angle such that it auto ricochets, so you're guaranteed to not take any damage. But that is a very, very difficult skill to master, and often not really worth it, because if you're going for such a tight angle, chances are you have to go quite far around the corner to get your gun facing at them, which exposes your lower plate, which just wastes the whole exercise. I like this push here from Zuber. They're pushing around to try and deal with essentially their opposite number, the Tiger 1. And you can see that the Tiger 1 is almost highlighting the problem that it has with its whole design. It's just a box with a gun on top. The Tiger was trying to sort of tuck in there and angle the armor around, but especially against some premium from essentially its own gun, that it doesn't stand a chance, and the Tiger 1 driver correctly recognises they cannot last very long in that position. I'm going to give Zuber the benefit of the doubt and assume that they were trying to force that Tiger 1 out of position, and it's a very interesting way of playing the game, and it did rely on the Tiger 1 falling back, because I don't know if Zuber would have been able to beat it. Then again, the implementation of side scraping, it would be a lot easier for Zuber to bounce the Tiger 1's return fire than for the Tiger 1 to do that. So for both players to sort of recognise the effects of that push is a commendation to both of them. Now, unfortunately, because of their position, the distance between these two buildings that they find themselves between, it's not big enough for the Tiger C to sort of side scrape around the near corner, so Zuber has to essentially poke their hull out from behind this rubble, because there simply isn't enough space. And what that means is if enemies are watching, they can just take shots at the front of their hull as they drive around. They do pick up that Tiger 1 though, and Zuber sort of senses blood here with this Churchill 1. They attempt a quick snapshot and get punished in return, but notice here it's quite quick, but you can see from the sniper angle there that Zuber is backed up against the rubble and increased the angle of their lower plate, so the Churchill one was unable to get that second shot through, and that's easy enough for Zuber to pick up the KV-1S that was with them as well. Now Zuber is looking across to the other side of the river. You can see there's a fair few enemy tanks there, and probably some unspotted support on the hill above. Zuber actually finds the ARL-44 and punches a shell through the side. The ARL, quite unfortunately I think, doesn't penetrate the return shot. The French heavy tanks are not particularly accurate, and Zuber finds a very cheeky shot through there as well, and the ARL unable to return fire. I'm not a huge fan of how Zuber is going about poking outwards like this. A particular high roll from the ARL-44 will be enough to kill them. The enemy artillery is still active, so it is good cover, but if the ARL got lucky, this Tiger is not small. It's easy pickings for enemy artillery. So thankfully Zuber sort of gives up on that and looks back towards the Churchill, going through the turret cheeks of that thing with premium ammo. A bit overkill, I think. You could probably get away with that with the standard ammunition on this tank, but that's what they had loaded, so that's absolutely fine. So let's talk a little bit about the assault game mode and how this will affect sort of decision making. The whole point of Zuber's team is to defend the cap circle and stay alive, obviously. This game mode is very similar to standard battle, except for when there are tanks remaining on each team. Typically, if it's standard battle, it'll probably be a draw if there are tanks remaining on both teams. Obviously, if there's tanks only remaining on one team, they're the winner. But in assault, if you are the defender and you can survive the length of the battle, and obviously the base is not captured, it's a victory for you instead of a draw. So when this game gets towards its latter stages, and that will happen fairly soon, you can see there's 14 tanks still in the game, and look how few hit points they have between them, less than about 20% of the total hit points. So it's at about this point after Zuber picks up the Tiger 1 that you need to be sort of thinking in your games about how you can secure the victory if you're the defender on the team. You can see in the top right there are 2.5 minutes left in the game. Zuber is still searching for kills. That's absolutely fine. I don't like them just poking out in front of the Sturm Mill like that. The Sturm Mill can probably take them out with the small gun and definitely take them out with the big one. So now I think Zuber is making the correct decision. They are just backing off. We're just keeping away from the enemy tanks because now we're pushing 2 minutes of the game left. Zuber is still, however, under a lot of pressure. They don't really have much hit points to play with, and they can pretty much just about take a hit from most of the enemy team. Fortunately, the enemy artillery has been destroyed, so they don't have to worry about that, and you can see Zuber just turns right back around and drives as fast as they can towards the friendly base to buy as much time as possible before they have to engage some enemy units. This, I think, is the correct decision because the last spotted position of Zuber's Tiger C is right back where the Tiger P is, roughly. So the enemies will be quite conscious that they don't want to get ambushed as they turn a corner or cross a bridge, things like that, because they can't afford to lose their hit points. You can see that the ARL is just about hanging on. The Britannia Panther probably can take 1 or 2 shots, so I don't think they're particularly bothered about it if they were paying attention to Zuber's previous hit point total. But the artillery seems to actually land a huge shell into the Britannia Panther, which allows Zuber to just finish them off. So the trap is sprung, but Zuber has a lot of distance now to utilise against the enemy. And this is sort of the key advantage of the defender in pretty much any scenario. The ARL-44 goes down as they're coming out through a corner. The Sturm Mill appears to be using the smaller cannon, so they don't actually get through Zuber's armour there. Zuber actually pushes into them. Now, I like this decision because there's only 40 seconds left in the game, so Zuber is just getting as much damage as possible. It is impossible for this Sturm Mill to win based on capping, so they just have to kill Zuber in the Tiger C as well as the 2 artillery pieces at the back, which just isn't going to happen in this time frame. So I like what Zuber did here. They'd secured the victory and just wanted to push a little bit further for more damage. And Sturm Mill actually gets Zuber, which is quite a testament to it because it's a not particularly flexible tank. Its gun arc is quite bad, but you can see they have absolutely no chance of getting towards the friendly artillery before the timer runs out, and there you go, it is a victory for Zuber's team. So a very, very good defensive game there from Zuber and their teammates. I do want to mention that, it's not a perfect game there from Zuber. You can quite easily pick out some sort of mechanical mistakes that they made and maybe some strategic errors. But I think the key decisions that they made, especially the initial one where they went down the middle, especially the one where they forced the Tiger out of position because that caused them to get flanked and killed, then finally, and arguably most importantly in the context of assault battle, pulling back and making it as awkward as possible for the remaining enemies to deal with them. I think those decisions are the kind of ones that make or break the games and turn losses into victories. Because if Zuber had just charged in and tried to mop up as many enemy tanks as they could, chances are they would have just gotten flanked. The Britannia Panther would have been alive, the ARL probably would have lived, and the game would have likely have been a loss because the artillery would have had to deal with 3 different enemies moving forward. But it didn't happen, there was a victory. So these are the kind of decisions I'm trying to highlight to you that you can implement in your games if you just think objectively, I suppose, about how the game is progressing and what you can best do to succeed. Anyway, I'm rambling again, so if you like the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you have any replays that you feel that you want me to analyse, or ones that you did particularly well, or ones that you've seen where a player got a fantastic result and you want to sort of break that down, please shoot them in my direction and I'll have a look. And if you want more content like this, consider sort of subscribing, I guess. Thank you all for watching.